Black hole experience is it's a 53-foot trailer. It's a double expandable, but inside we have a black hole chamber. It is a experience as much as you can recreate in a chamber of traveling with a black hole.
What was the main lesson that you would say did you learn something that stayed with you?
The planet actually is so resilient that there is no investment that you can make that is ever wasted on the planet. You have an anchor, right? That cannot be blown by the day-to-day events.
Wow. Welcome to Artful Impact. Today we have Dax Dasilva with us, one of my dear friends that I know for a very long time. Thank you so much, Dax, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I just want to read to everyone what you're about and what was your journey. So Dax Dasilva is a visionary entrepreneur, author, and philanthropist who has been a driving force in the intersection of technology, sustainability, and social impact. He's the founder of Lightspeed, a global commerce platform that he started in 2005, which has since become a leader in empowering independent businesses worldwide. Beyond the tech industry, Dax has made a profound impact in the arts and environmental movement through his nonprofit Never Apart, which promotes social change through culture, and the Age of Union Alliance, a global conservation initiative that funds and supports grassroots environmental projects around the world. His work is dedicated to fostering a more inclusive, sustainable, and conscious future. And through his book, Age of Union, he encourages individuals to take an active role in protecting our planet. Tonight, he will share insights into how creativity, business, and environmental stewardship can come together to drive meaningful impact. Thank you so much for the work that you do. It's so inspiring, and I'm so grateful that I've been there to witness you in this journey. And especially when we met, it was 9 years ago. So that was like 2016.
Yeah.
And I think Lightspeed at the time went from 50 to 300 employees or something. There was like this big jump.
And now it's 3,000.
Whoa. Wow. 9 years. Wow.
Yeah.
It's an exit. So Dax and I, we are from Montreal. We met at my art exhibition, which was all about wildlife conservation. And when Dax and I met for the first time, we started a conversation, and it's still going. And we connected not only on environment, we also connected on spirituality. Dax, you taught me about Kabbalah. You taught me about how to connect deeper to my inner voice and to listen to the guidance, and to know that every day is a walk with God.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. So, in the last, you took 2 years off from being a CEO of Lightspeed, and you pursued your passion, your mission in philanthropy. And that was very, very successful 2 years. Honestly, what you accomplished is working with top leaders, Jane Goodall, Leonardo DiCaprio, getting an Emmy Award for a documentary. That's honestly, seeing you just follow through, and just when you set your mind to something, it's so fascinating. It's just you go towards it, and there's nothing that can steer you away. And so I just want you to share with us, what is it that drives you? What is it that, allows you to take every step at a time with confidence and knowing where you're heading?
I think for the conservation journey, it was something that came to me when as a teenager, because I grew up in British Columbia, which is, just majestic nature. My parents were refugees from Uganda. And so when we were growing up, we did a lot of camping, a lot of outdoors, a lot of inexpensive activities, and really just took advantage of all the beautiful nature. And I was programming on the Mac at an early age, at age 13. So I kind of knew I was working for a startup at that age. And so I knew I was going to do a software company. I was really obsessed and really nerdy. But at age 17, I saw in the newspapers that they were clear-cutting 1,000-year-old trees in Clayoquot Sound on the west coast of Vancouver Island. And I just couldn't believe that was happening. So me and my stepbrother, we drove across Vancouver Island to join the protests. And we drove through 3-4 hours of clear-cut moonscape to get there. And it really scarred me because it was just a dead landscape of gray branches, and just you can just imagine all the animals that lost their homes. And so we did save Clayoquot Sound. It's now like a very important national park. Thousands of people from around the world came together to with the indigenous people to protect it. But I think what it taught me two things. It taught me, and Zipporah Berman, and probably many of you know her name, was a researcher, and she just got plucked out of this small group to lead this protest, which ended in success, and we've become friends since. But it showed what individuals like her could do and galvanize, and how much change an individual can make. But it also showed me how destructive we can be. And so I knew that even though I was going to go into software, that one day when I had the resources, I would come back to conservation and try to do something meaningful, and ended up being a little bit doing something in conservation with startup DNA and that entrepreneurial energy. And that's what started Age of Union. So after 17 years of being the CEO of Lightspeed, I had the opportunity to become the chairman and sort of step back from the day-to-day, although I've been sucked back into Lightspeed in the last year. So it only lasted the 2 years, but I was able to do 2 years of just really not only investing in 10 projects. We put $40 million across 10 grassroots projects in the Peruvian Amazon, in the Congo, in Indonesia, 4 projects in Canada, and a ship with Sea Shepherd called the Age of Union, which is patrolling the west coast of Africa, 2 projects in the Caribbean, one in Haiti and one in Trinidad. And in those 2 years, I visited and spent time on the ground with those grassroots conservationists, those real change makers, and saw what it takes to actually save something, to save a species, to save a place. And I think that was so important. I have a book coming out this year.
Second one.
Yeah. It'll be on Earth. It'll be pre-sale on Earth Day, about going to these places and how much I learned from these incredible people, because no matter how much information you get about a project, you really don't know until you actually are there and see the social, political, economic context of everything. And then the project makes so much sense. And then you're inspired by the people. Sometimes people ask me, aren't you really devastated by what you see when you go to these places? I'm like, no, because I see that things can be done.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And that's been such a motivator to do more and to find, find the resources for these grassroots projects.
Right. Honestly, you said so many different things that I want to touch upon.
Yeah, sure.
Like you talk about, approaching any kind of conservation effort as a startup mindset.
Yeah.
And could you share with us more, like, what is it like when you look at the startup as a grassroots organization? What are the things that you want to make sure that are working properly, and like what can you apply from your startup experience?
Yeah, I think one of the challenges with some very established nonprofits is that they end up getting a little bureaucratic, right? And if you want to create impact and change, I think some of the playbook of a tech startup or any kind of startup is helpful, right? It's resourceful, it bootstraps, it tries things, it fails fast, it tries many things, and it doesn't matter if there are as many failures as there are successes. The reality with the environment is, unlike a startup, which can fail 100% completely, the planet actually is so resilient that there is no investment that you can make that is ever wasted on the planet, right? It always can come back, and always can surprise us.
This leads to growth.
Yeah. And so that is one of the things where actually an environmental project or conservation project, a much better investment than a startup, because most of them eventually end up failing. But I think that some of the DNA of that startup energy is really important. And I was really excited to see that a lot of these conservation projects were like a lot of the startups I've mentored, or Lightspeed itself, and our software company helps independent retail and restaurant businesses. So I am aware of a lot of other people's businesses that are also kind of startups, right?
Right.
So I think that taking that approach, and applying resources in that way, I think is seen. I see that on the ground, and it works.
Right. And I'm pretty sure you were able to cross-pollinate knowledge between all the projects.
Absolutely. Like there's some projects that are so far ahead on things like agroforestry and able to share notes with other folks, or the ranger programs, or documenting through different systems the wildlife that's within an acreage. There's so much information that we've been able to share across the projects. That's what we call Age of Union Alliance, right? Because it's not about us being an organization; it's about us creating an alliance between very like-minded projects, but that actually have they might have very different realities, right? The government in Indonesia responds very differently to that project.
Right.
It's actually very pro-extraction, so I've never seen anything like it. Versus, let's say in Brazil or Peru, or the Congo, where there's actually the Congo where we've actually protected with a forest land title project with over 1 million hectares in the last couple of years in a forest corridor thing. So yeah, and that framework was created by the government, but this conservation group that we've been funding called Strong Roots Congo is local. They've found a way to make it almost a viral movement across the countryside, which creates forest corridors for like, whether it's elephants or gorillas or other primates, to be able to traverse across areas. And it also protects those villages from mining that's coming in into the Congo, and just, displacing people and also destroying the land for all wildlife.
Right. Wow. These are all such powerful projects. And you mentioned that you're also filming it, right? Like you're filming each project, and there will be more information coming out, so we'll be able to see what's happening on the ground and learn about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of film that we've done. I think I realized early on that how remote some of these places were and how dangerous some of them were. Like Congo, there's 9 travel advisories. The same place that we just that we visited and filmed in is in the news now. You can't go there. And
how does it feel when you're there?
Well, I was there last year. It's like you can't go there right now. So these places, I found that like we have to take a film crew when we're going to meet these projects. We have to, share these stories. The Sea Shepherd film that we did, the first one we did was called Caught. It was about an incredible protege of Captain Paul Watson, Lamia Esenlali. This really fiery, incredible a woman that wouldn't let it passed that thousands of dolphins were dying in the French fishing nets as the trawlers just vacuumed all the fish. They came from Asia, they came from Europe, and basically all the dolphins would come into shore and get caught in the nets, 10,000 a year. And so we did all these midnight raids on this situation on the water, and I'm like, we have to capture this. We ended up changing the law in France. Because once you put it on film and you do a premiere in Paris, the government notices, right? Right. It's embarrassing, and people in Paris are like, we didn't even know we had dolphins on our coast. I mean, I think a lot of them thought it was a Caribbean animal, right?
Wow. And
so
it feels like you really discovered the power of documentary and sharing the story, and that was like one of the most impactful forms.
It can really, really make change. The documentary we did in the Congo, I think that helped accelerate from a few 100,000 hectares all the way to 1 million, because it gives that support to all the people that are the Congolese people that are building this project. And then we have a very special film called Wildcat, which won an Emmy. That was. Yeah, if you've seen that on Amazon Prime.
It's really good. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
And it's won an Emmy Award, and it was like one of your first films?
It happened. It was an investment we did. It was a feature, because we've done a lot of shorts. You'll see them all on ageofunion.com in the film section. A lot of shorts on our projects. But we met the film crew of Wildcat while visiting Paul Rosalie's Jungle Keepers project, which we're the main funder of, in the Peruvian Amazon. And we had a little camera crew that was documenting me meeting Paul and exploring our first project. and that camera crew was working on Wildcat. They didn't have the money to finish the film, and so I became very close friends with them, and the film just ended up being a massive success. And very close with Harry, who's the main character.
Right.
I mean, in short, it's a story of a UK vet who, sees his close friend blown up in front of him in Afghanistan. They're only like 21. Goes to the Amazon to disappear with suicidal thoughts, meets a young woman that is rehabilitating animals that have been rescued from market after they've been taken from the forest, after the mother's been poached. A very horrible situation. And he raises 2 baby ocelots, and in doing so, as their mother, and in doing so heals himself. It's an incredible human story about mental health, but it also teaches about what's happening to the wildlife too at the same time. So they're such brilliant filmmakers, Trevor and Melissa.
It's so beautiful, the interconnectedness of mental health,
Yeah.
right? And then nature, and also how can we, when we step beyond ourselves, when we take care of somebody else, our planet, then we are not so focused into our own bubble.
So true.
And I hope that film can actually inspire so many people to do the same, to do things that are beyond themselves. And while we were on a documentary trajectory, you went to the rainforest with Jane Goodall. You spent with her, what, a week in the rainforest?
Yeah, we were 2 weeks last November. We went to go meet Juma Shapaya, who's she's the chief of the Shapaya, this Shapaya village called Karima. Where Jane and I started a project for Indigenous knowledge, an Indigenous knowledge center, and there's a film related which is unannounced, so I can't say too much. But
I know about it, but I can't talk about it. It's so good.
There's actually Jane is featured in 3 different I'm like, you end up on my sets before I even get to be there. She's of course we know she's all over.
Yes.
And so Trevor and Alyssa's second film, she visited that project. It's a really special film that's also being developed. So she's all up in all where there's amazing work being done for wildlife particularly.
Right.
So
and honestly, like, okay, Jane Goodall, for so many of us, she's like an icon, right? Like somebody that like we all love and adore and aspire to be. And the fact that you got a chance to spend with her so much time, especially that she's turning 91 in April, it's such a gift. And, from what you shared with me, like she is such a powerhouse. Like, oh my goodness. And I think it just like shows us the power of like when we have a purpose, when we have a mission, when we have it gives us so much fire to continue. And like at age 91, traveling all around the world,
300 days a year, she's on the road, and she will do. I witnessed it. She'll do a lecture impromptu for a small group of people. She just lives in complete and pure service. But she's hilarious too, and she's mischievous. She's just like the whole package of like, the ultimate saint. She's just somebody else. She's something else. I mean, she's so filled with purpose that there is no stopping her. And I remember getting off the plane in where was it? Yeah, it was our first stop on the way into the Amazon, in Sao Paulo. And there was this, as we were getting off, there was this whole row of wheelchairs for people exiting the plane, for people 20, 30 years younger than her. And she's zooming by with her with her roller bag, which she would not let me or anybody else help her with. She's like, I'm a big girl and I've traveled all around the world. And has wheels. So but that's what I think purpose and like, and her belief, because she went from becoming from a scientist, she transformed from being a scientist to becoming an activist. And I think she tells that story about how, the chimps that she was with in Gombe, when she went back to Gombe many years after her research in Gombe of the chimps, she realized a lot of them were gone. A lot of the forest had been cleared, and a lot of them had been caged for medical research during the HIV crisis. And that's when she went to work with the scientists. She wanted to like, break down and cry and like scream at them. But she knew that as a scientist, she could get through and show people that there wasn't medical reason for this. There wasn't a rationale. And she managed to free all those chimps, and she realized she'd gone into activism. And that's inspiring too, because, it shows what one person can do and how many people one person can affect. Because I'll tell you, when we were in the most remote places, mostly, women of all ages would come up to her and break down because they'd gone into conservation or biology or all of these different professions to protect animals and the planet because of Jane.
Wow. And that's just like whoever's listening and whoever's in the room, it just shows us the power of how each one of us can make a difference in this world. And Jane is a beautiful example. And so, Dax, so are you, and so many people here in the room. And wow, I'm honestly like hearing your stories with her and like being able to embody and like be in that energy, right? Like to like, what was the main lesson that like you would say like that? Like, did you learn something that stayed with you when you were with her?
I think seeing the world through her eyes in terms of everything has a soul. There's a beautiful little reel of me and her. I did an interview with her in the Amazon, and she talks about a fly, and she just thinks about, this is a being, it's a sentient being, and she really sees the world that way. And I think that we forget that a mountain has a soul, a river, a tree, whatever scale of animal. And I think we have to be thoughtful as the dominant, creature on this planet, of thinking of ourselves as guardians, because everything is vulnerable to us, right?
Dax, I'm going to reflect something to you. Somebody taught me that too. And you know who that person was? You. You told me that a while back, and I remember you were like, a rock has a soul, a mountain has a soul.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time I was like in my early 20s, and I was just like,
yeah,
does it? Huh.
That's the Baal Shem Tov. That's from Jewish mysticism.
Right.
So it was a Jewish sage that would go into states of ecstasy, dancing around a flame in the forest, and he was one of the few mystics that really was connected to nature and added that layer of spirituality of there's a soul immanent in everything, right? And I think that once you start seeing the world through that lens, I think you approach everything differently.
Right. And I guess like that's where like religion and spirituality, when it's connecting us to nature, when we can find different passages or teachings, it's a beautiful way to invite other people into it, and for us to realize that actually we are one with nature, not anyhow separate from it.
Yeah.
And I think that's like where your book Age of Union is kind of like also encompasses that.
Because we live in an age of separation, right? And I think that the two things that we're the most separated from as society, and it's evident in almost everything that you see on our news cycle, is we're disconnected from nature. We don't know where our food or our water, or we don't know much about the natural world around us, and we're disconnected from spirituality. We disconnected from traditional religion for potentially good reasons, but those two things have left us very unanchored and searching. But in the reality is that those two things are one and the same, right? Nature is spirituality, is nature, right? And I think that idea that there is a soul in everything, and we are a part of everything. There's a oneness, is a very basic idea, but we are it feels like we're very distant from that reality at this stage in our evolution of humanity.
Right.
Yeah.
And isn't it funny that you're like, it's a very basic concept. It is such a basic concept.
But it has really big implications for our daily behavior, right? That I think we're disconnected.
And we are disconnected from ourselves. And you said like we are searching for it. We are like we don't know what to do with ourselves. We don't know what to do with each other, with nature. And we just like trying to distract ourselves because we don't have purpose at times. So I feel like that's why like, projects like Age of Union, documentaries, and everything that we do is so important, because it guides the way, it like leads it like, hey, like we can actually connect. And so many people that come, for example, for the creative events or Prayer for the Earth, when people come together, or when they focus on intention of what we can do for the planet, I had so many people come up to me and say, I did so many retreats and they promised me that I'm going to feel so centered and connected to myself, but I didn't. But here I did.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because we were able collectively to think beyond ourselves.
Yeah.
And then when we expand,
Right.
then we are not so focused on this inner world. So therefore, all these worries, they get diluted in this vastness.
Mm.
And so by hearing you say this, I hope that it inspires more people, to read Age of Union. And also there's an amazing film, Unity, that's also by Sean Monson, that touches upon this topic. And so you also went a lot into arts, right? Like there's so many different mediums that you convey the message of environmentalism and bringing people together. So now you have a project, Black Hole Experience, right, that is traveling around the country, that was just at the Lake Climate Week this past year. Would you share with us more about it?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a off the wall project, but it's so Black Hole Experience is it's a 53-foot trailer. It's a double expandable, but inside we have a black hole chamber. And what it is it is a experience as much as you can recreate in a chamber of entering a black hole, of traveling with a black hole. And I think the idea goes back to this thing that we just touched on, which is oneness, right? There are very few things that humble us. You know, as humans, we're not humbled by the ocean or by a mountain. We feel like we stand atop of everything. And so, but a black hole will humble us, the cosmos. And sometimes we don't think about the cosmos as part of nature, but people are very curious about space, right? There's the eclipse, or borealis, there's a big interest in space. And I thought, you know what? We've been doing a lot of different environmental art. We did a number of immersive, we had an Age of Union center for 2 years. We had a lot of immersive exhibitions. We had the Earth Room, the Moon Room, the Sun Room, a lava cave, a glacier cave that allowed you in an urban setting to experience these different natural environments. But then I found a room in my home and I was like, oh, it's the same size as these other rooms. Let's create Black Hole Room.
That is so awesome.
Yeah. So the prototype of Black Hole Room is near my garage. And then when we closed the center, I was like, you know what? I would like to take this on the road mobile so that we could bring it to LA Climate Week or Times Square, which we did last year, or the middle of a festival or the middle of a campus, and drop this. I feel like it's a Trojan horse for environmentalism. People come in because they're interested in space, but they get to have a reflective experience of oneness and a reflective experience of like vastness. Yeah, bigger than you.
Yes.
Greater than you.
Yes.
That's spirituality, is the bigger than us, right? Oof. And then we talk to them about, yes, things can be done on the environment. Here's some proof on the things that we're doing in Age of Union. So it's a little bit of a gateway to talking about our projects and all that we're trying to do, because we don't really raise money for Age of Union. I just want to show people that it is possible to make things happen for the environment. It is not a lost cause, right? And I think the first I always thought with Age of Union, because there's 4 pillars in the book: leadership, culture, spirituality, nature. I always thought spirituality is the end of that journey. But actually, I think through Black Hole, we've realized as a team, I think spirituality is the first. It's like when you start to really think about things bigger than you, or you start to feel a vastness, then you can start to maybe develop that love for nature, that leadership, that utilization of culture to change, to make change.
Oof. I love this flip. I love this switch. And it's basically connecting first to ourselves, right? And then when we connect to ourselves, then we connect to everything and everyone around us.
Yeah, surprising.
Yeah, well, but not, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes like needs to get so hard, and we need to go through so much suffering in order to dive deeper into that.
Yeah.
And actually, like I feel like the golden thread that goes through like what we were talking. There's this tale of a monk talking to his student, and he says, "Go take a cup of salt and go to the lake." So the student goes to the lake, and then the teacher says, "Add a little bit of water into the cup and take a sip." The student takes a sip and he's like, "Oh," and the teacher's like, "Okay, now take the same cup and pour it into the lake, and then take water from the lake and take a sip." He takes a sip. He's like, "How it is?" "Great. It's normal." He's like, "You see, That's what happens when we dilute what we are going through, because it's the same amount of salt. Right? So when we go through our personal troubles, when we go through this like things that are so hard, and we focus on this like cup of salt, right? But when we dilute that cup of salt with everything around us, when we think beyond ourselves, when we energetically expand, even when we just start focusing on what's in the room, who's in the room, we go beyond ourselves. So we dilute that cup of salt, and we go like more and more vast. So it's like really, really like our personal self-healing journey truly begins with serving others and serving the planet. And understanding the interconnectedness of it all.
100%.
Yes. I have so many questions here, but I'm like, so, through your experience, we don't need questions. We know each other for so long. It's through your experience, there's like so many change makers who are listening, and so many people in this room. Like, what would be the advice you would give somebody who is on this path? And this path is not necessarily easy, right? Because we are truly paving the way for so many people. So what would be your advice for others?
Yeah, I think it's starting with smaller things, because sometimes folks feel intimidated. They want to make an impact. They want to make change, and they don't know where to start. I started with smaller things, and then I found that they were their own reward, right? And you want to do more. You want to be able to help other people find their, utilize their purpose, and so on. So I think it's the idea that when you do something for the greater, when you're doing something that isn't for you directly, it is a part of an expansion of your soul, right? It feels good. It's a better reward than any material reward, right? You find the material rewards very quickly are don't penetrate, right? They don't have the meaning, right? But when you do something in that way for the greater, whether it's small or large, and I always look back to the idea of the mitzvah in Judaism, which is something done with intention. When you imbue intention into an act, whether it's choosing a food or choosing a particular action or daily behavior, you can have meaning and purpose all day long, right? Because you've imbued and infused intention into everyday acts. And that'll actually just get bigger and bigger as you have more meaning and purpose in more of your life, right?
Right.
And then as you expand into doing things for lots of other people, not just modifying your day to day, that's I think a part of that journey, right?
Right. And it seems like, we always come back to the spirituality. And so for you, like, can you please share with us the process of like when you go through this? Because like what you achieved in 2 years of like being from, running a public company to going full into philanthropy is just outstanding. And so can you share with us what's your thought process when you make decisions? Like what guides you? And I'm just gonna like, before you answer this, like the things that I admire about you the most is like, when I talk to you, you take a pause before answering. And just that is like connecting to the source. Is like, I admire it so much in you. And when I ask you, I'm like, Dax, I'm lost, I'm confused, I don't know what to do. Sometimes I've never learned it. I just need to give you like, sometimes it's like a minute or 2 minutes, and you're just there, you're silent, and then you give the best response possible. So would you guide us through this process of making decisions, and like what guides you in your day-to-day life?
I think a lot of it is listening, and a lot of it is being humble when you approach things, because I've heard very well-meaning people come to the Amazon. They've got money, they've got the resources, and they're like, oh, there's fires, let's build a sprinkler system, right? They're not listening to the people on the ground that live it day to day, right? Like it's a bad approach to go into something that you don't know anything about, and try to have a brilliant prescription for it, right? I think it's about listening. I think it's about hearing people that really are on the ground. That's like, I think the approach, whether it's in business, when I'm digging into a department where I don't know, or film where I didn't know anything, or conservation, right? I mean, that's what this book that's coming out is about the weeks I spent on the ground with each project, absorbing, right? So that I could understand and then better to be able to help. And I think that applies to a lot of things. I think that adds to your life experience, that adds to wisdom, that adds to, but you don't really build wisdom if you don't listen, right? And I think that's such an important piece of the puzzle. And I think that when you do listen, I think people think that people that are type A and talk a lot and have a lot to say in a loud voice are the ones that are the leaders, or the smart people. They don't come off that way, right? It's always the people that are listening that you respect the most, right? So I think that actually builds wisdom.
Beautiful. And Dax, also, like, you've been through so much, and I witnessed you to go through so many tribulations. What helped you stay grounded, focused, and to keep going? Because I know at times it's like, I put like so many people in this situation, and like sometimes you share with something like, oh my God, and you're like, got it, support it, let's go. It's just like so marble. So would you share?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a very challenging year since I came back to Lightspeed. It's, there's been lots of different challenges over 20 years of the company. And people ask me, how do you stay so calm? And I think it is because of the spiritual investment that you make, right? The more you invest in your spirituality, and that is a different thing for every person, the more you have an anchor, right? That cannot be blown by the day-to-day events of, I feel at the company in a day-to-day basis, there's more little micro failures than there are successes. There's a lot of little jabs, like competitors doing this person's decided to leave the company, this these numbers are going to be short for next quarter. Like there's all sorts of stuff that's like just sticks to you, right? And I think it's like, you've got to celebrate your wins. You've got to learn from. You can't take failure as something that's going to bring you down. Those are all areas of learning. But I think for me, ultimately, it's that spiritual foundation that I've invested in over years that actually generates faith. Right? Faith is a very difficult thing to describe or quantify, but it comes out of trust. It comes out of a spiritual foundation, and you trust in the greater, whatever that is to you.
Yes.
It's all the same thing to everybody, but whatever you call it, it's there's a faith and a trust that ultimately, I think that my greatest wish and my prayer every day is that I can be used as an instrument, right? With whatever I've been given as talents or what I develop over time.
Yeah.
I don't pray for success, or I just pray to be a better and better instrument. And the faith is that I won't be deprived of the opportunity to be an instrument that gets used, in a way that will make whatever change is needed, whether it's the company or it's on the other projects.
So beautiful. And it kind of leads us back to the teaching that you taught me, that every day is a walk with God. And therefore, there's nothing to fear. We just move forward, and we are supported, and everything that comes along, it's a lesson. We are here to learn and move on.
I think that when you think about yourself as an instrument, you could actually remove a lot of pressure from your shoulders, because if you take on all the successes and you celebrate yourself, then that means you have to take on all the failures. And if you just see yourself as an instrument, that is a way healthier way to approach everything that you do. And then you're not tied to, your whole identity is not wrapped up in what you do and where you've succeeded. It's you're an instrument that can be brought from this kind of situation to this kind of situation, from this field to this field. And that's, I think, a beautiful way to walk through life with your creator.
Boom. Mic drop. Wow, Dax, so incredible. And I'm sure it inspires so many people who are listening to this right now. Is there anything that you would want to share with us that I didn't ask you, or is there anything that's coming up that you would like the audience to learn about?
It's important with, the current political climate and everything that's happening for everybody to find that spiritual source. I feel like, everybody here is very invested. But like, I think try to help some of the people around you that are struggling to find what that is for them. And if it's difficult to figure it out because your practice might not be a practice that might be received by somebody else, like I said earlier, spirituality is nature and nature is spirituality. So that's the easiest way for people to uh to connect to something bigger than them. And then I think the other thing is wildlife needs our help. This is a very tough planet for wildlife right now. Or no matter what situation, we had a lot of wildlife that was, in a bad situation here in LA, but all around the world. Wildcat, when Melissa accepted the Emmy, she's like, let's really think about wildlife, because wildlife is in a difficult place.
Orangutans.
Yeah, we've talked about it a lot. So if there's something that you want to do for the greater, of course, we love to help other people. But keep wildlife in mind, because the next few decades are going to be really critical. Yeah.
Keep wildlife in the mind and keep wildlife in the wild.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dax. Thank you. That was amazing. I'm so grateful for this interview. Thank you.
Thanks.